Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One Stop Co-op Shop, where I discuss 5 key elements of a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today I'm looking at the newest dungeon crawler from Fantasy Flight, Descent: Legends of the Dark. And no disclaimer for this one, I've been playing with my friend's copy. So this has been a pretty divisive game for a lot of people, especially with its use of an app, and dungeon crawlers tend to be kind of divisive for me in general. I like some and hate others. How did Descent fall out? Let's find out and get to the list. So first at my number 5, although I'm sure it'd be higher for a lot of people, is the app itself, and it's a mix for me. On the positive side, I think it's incredibly slickly done, it's really professional, it keeps track of tons of stuff, and definitely eases the game experience overall. But on the negative side, first of all, if you're playing with a group of people and you don't have either a large tablet or a way to cast it onto a TV screen, then it can be really frustrating because there will be long stretches of dialogue and stuff, and the crafting and upgrading of items can get really nuanced, feels almost like a free-to-play game where you're upgrading your characters a little bit, and both those things sometimes keep you in the app instead of playing the game too much. For my number 4, I also have a mix, and that's the scenario design. On the positive side, the scenarios are very diverse. Each one has some kind of quirk or special circumstance that makes it feel unique. And often the scenarios achieve a very cinematic feel, which is really cool, reminds me of some of the better scenarios in Arkham Horror LCG. But on the negative side, for many of these scenarios, that coolness, that uniqueness, doesn't mean that they are fun. Especially if each player is controlling a single character, there are scenarios that send some of you like way away from the action to search for things, leaving you out of it for multiple turns while other characters do more interesting things. There are just some off-putting things in the scenario design that make the uniqueness not always enjoyable. And I've got another mix at number 3. There are a lot of them, and that's focused on the story and the characterization. And the pro here comes from the characters because they really take a lot of time to flesh each of them out. They give them their own unique missions and give you little ethical choices to make. And although the dialogue can go a little bit long, if you get into it and have the different players reading the different characters and getting into their personality and quirks, you're going to really enjoy this. But on the negative side, you know, for me, most crawlers are notorious for having really dull core plots, and no different here. There are some uthuk, they're trying to do a ritual, some stuff happens, some more stuff happens, they'll remind you, hey, they're trying to do this ritual again every once in a while. It really doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't really feel unique or new or exciting. Without the characters, I think the story would fall very flat. With them, it kind of buoys it up, but not all the way to a pro. And hey, with number 2, we finally get to a non-mix, but sadly it's a con, and a big con for me, and that's the upgrading in the game and leveling up. So at least for me, upgrading and leveling are some of my favorite things in adventure and crawl games, but Descent chooses to go with a glacial pace for this, especially when it comes to character skills. It takes about 6 missions before you even unlock the ability to have a second skill, and a lot of those skills aren't very interesting. And this means the heroes feel very much like they're staying the same, especially if you stick with the same one, you're going to be doing the exact same stuff over and over and over again. And yes, you can get some new weapons, yes, you can get some new armor, some minor upgrades, but it all feels too little because things don't tend to power you up much and make you actually feel like you've really leveled in a meaningful way. You're just going to have the same things over and over again for so many scenarios in a row. It's really a bummer. And finally, we're back to a mix for my number 1. Yay, it's a mix, not a con, and that is the action system, especially the fatigue system. So on the positive side, the game is very streamlined and quick to play. You get 1 movement action every turn, plus 2 other actions which you can move or attack with or interact. It's certainly on the low end in terms of tactics and strategies when compared to other dungeon crawlers, but it's streamlined and it's fun. No real complaints there. But where I do complain very much so is the fatigue system. And this is coming from someone who really enjoyed Descent 2nd Edition and Imperial Assault, where fatigue could give you extra movement, but it would also be used to fire off a lot of your skills, and it was an ever-present resource you had to really pay attention to. And to Fantasy Flight's credit, they really tried to change things up. So now you've got all these cards, including your character card that'll flip over, and they each build up fatigue, and when you flip them, it all goes away, and it offers new options and stuff, but it's just not that interesting. It's just not that interesting. You don't build up fatigue enough from dice, so the choice there is not very difficult. A lot of characters have obviously better abilities on one side or the other, so they have almost no reason to flip, and it's often a little too easy to get rid of fatigue without flipping. So in my opinion, it's just not as unique and interesting as the designers clearly thought it was, and I feel like it's a major step back from the more interesting stamina management of Imperial Assault and Descent 2nd Edition. So there you go, a very mixed review for Descent Legends of the Dark. You might want to check this one out if you like more streamlined crawlers, if you like the idea of an app handling most of the complicated bits, if you like table presence. This game sprawls over the table. It has ascending terrain, beautiful, really nice hard miniatures. But you might want to avoid this one if you're looking for a lot of tactical complexity. It doesn't get that interesting here. If you're looking for quick and exciting character leveling, it'll definitely let you down. Or if you're looking for tense and exciting resource management, I just didn't find it that interesting. But Colin and Barrett are both loving it, and they've done a playthrough with a fully painted set, so click the link right there if you want to see them taking it for a spin. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.